All right, so let's get into it. What, how, and for whom? In a society, how these questions are answered and who answers these questions and makes the decisions, that really breaks down and decides and defines what an economic system is. And remember, an economic system is the structure of methods and principles that a society uses to produce and distribute goods and services. So, it's right there in the definition when you think about it. The methods and principles that a society uses to produce and distribute goods and services. That all identifies with this. Well, you have to figure out what is actually going to be distributed, how is it going to be produced, and I am so bad at drawing lines, and then who are you going to give it to? So everything can be really consumed and combined in different ways, and these decisions require trade-offs, like I mentioned before, because when you're looking at that opportunity cost and the trade-offs of making the decision of what and how, you really are bringing into that idea guns and butter. Looking at here, you have all these raw resources that are just laying around. I don't know, are these cave people? Could be. So producers, whether it's the government producing or private industry producing, they have to make the decision. How do we allocate the resources, and then how do we make that into products, goods, and services? So those trade-offs and those decisions really do come down to the whole guns and butter. When a government's intervening to then distribute and to kind of put in the government resources, which remember, guns is very wide an idea, and then, or the consumer goods and the butter, that mixture of intervention or decision-making is going to then put the economic system on the economic spectrum and the free market spectrum. With every choice and with every part of how we answer these questions, there are going to be challenges that arise. And an economic system and societies really have to kind of approach these challenges by looking at what do they value most. And there are key economic values to kind of look at a society and see what they have prioritized. So you have first, economic efficiency. So are they accurately assessing what the people want and need, and are they meeting those needs? Economic freedom is another really important goal. The U.S. is considered one of the most free countries in the world economically, and we kind of change here and there. We are not the freest economic system. Another really important value is economic security. Economic equity is meaning that fairness is different. Should everyone get the same share? Should everyone's consumption be dependent on how much they produce? So basically what they put in is how much they get out. Or should they be able to provide, even for the people who are unwilling and or unable to produce? So basically, no matter what your choice is, even if you aren't able to put in an equal share, you're distributed an equal share. Economic growth. You have a nation's economy must grow, especially as its population grows. As more people are inhabiting a nation, then their production level needs to go higher, as well as their standard of living. And those are defined as the economic prosperity. So as you saw, a lot of those goals kind of intertwined, but they also can butt heads, and especially change depending on how the nature of the current events kind of goes. So you might have other values that start to take priority within a society: environmental protection, making sure that there's full employment and all eligible people who can work are working, protecting specifically national industries or, within our things produced within our borders rather than importing from other countries. So, valuing exports over imports. And sometimes with these values in conflict, it creates more of a clash and a debate on what should be prioritized and what should be put aside. Remember, there always has to be a trade-off. You cannot reach 100% of every goal every time. So it creates that conflict. It creates that need to prioritize what is most important. Really, any kind of society needs to kind of figure out how to answer these questions and overcome the challenges. I want you to think about this, though. These seem like pretty basic questions, but put yourself in different scenarios that can be. and how you agree with it. Should the government try to influence the types of crops farmers grow and the kinds of animals they raise? Should producers be allowed to produce any kind of product they want, no matter what is the distribution outcome or, the how many and who it's going to? Should there be able to be a limitation on fat content? Or should a producer be able to put as much fat as they want in food? It really does make it taste good. Then, of course, should the food be made available to people who can't afford it? Or is it only for those who are able to obtain the resource? Who's going to make sure it's distributed fairly? Who's going to make the decision of who gets to be considered have access to those resources?